Hey, what's up guys? This is the second video for the Algebra 1 Spring Final Review year 2022. I will make maybe another video, maybe two more videos, but make sure you guys follow my videos on my YouTube channel so you guys can review and get prepared for the final. This video will cover questions 11 through 20 on that final review you received in class. So let's go ahead and look at number 11. So the question says, number 11, factor, and they give you guys a quadratic trinomial, n squared plus 11n plus 24. So one method that I use to factor, we use the x diagram. So I have the x right here. I'm going to multiply the a value, which is the value with the variable that has a squared. So n squared has an invisible 1 in front of the n. And I'm going to multiply that by the c value, which is the constant, the number with no variable, which is 24. So you multiply a times c, 1 times 24 is 24. Make sure you guys check your signs. This is a positive 24. And on the bottom, you guys are going to write your b value, and that's the one with the variable that has an exponent of 1. So I'm looking at this term right here, 11n, and it is a positive 11. So now I'm going to find two numbers, two factors that will multiply to 24, and they do combine or add up to 11. And I am thinking of 3 and 8. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 plus 8 is 11. So it works. You guys can factor this quadratic trinomial. The next step, you guys are going to have your two binomials, two parentheses. You are going to bring down the a value. In this case, it's 1. So that's going to go inside of the parentheses, and you're going to split up the n squared to n times n. So I'm going to put the 1, that's the a value, n, and the other parentheses, the 1, n. When you multiply n times n, you are going to get n squared. Then you guys are going to bring down your factors. They are positive, so I'm going to use a plus 3, that's the first one, and the second one is a positive 8 plus 8. Now you guys don't need that 1 next to the n, and since it is a 1, the number in front of the variable, you guys cannot divide the binomials. That's something else we have to check. So in this case, you cannot reduce, you cannot divide. So I'm going to rewrite my answer. I don't need that 1 next to the n, so I'm going to put n plus 3 times n plus 8. Once again guys, order doesn't matter. I explained this in my first video. So it doesn't matter what order you guys have the parentheses. Just make sure you guys have the same numbers, same signs. Everything is the same, and you guys will be okay. Number 12, you want to factor again, and it is a quadratic trinomial. So we have a k squared plus k minus 20. So I am going to use my x diagram right here. The a value is the one with the k squared, so it's an invisible 1. I'm going to multiply the 1 times the negative 20. So that's going to be negative 20. Notice, careful with the signs, it is a negative 20 when you multiply a times c. And the b term, there's the 1 in front of the k. There's an invisible 1. I'm just going to put this 1 so you guys can see it there. So it is a 1 right there. So you put it on the bottom of the negative 20. I'm going to look for two factors that multiply to negative 20 and that add up to 1. I'm thinking of negative 4 and positive 5. Let's go ahead and check. Negative 4 times 5, that's negative 20. And negative 4 plus 5 is 1. This step is a little bit tricky. It can be tricky. Just make sure you guys don't give up. Always look for those factors. You can start making a list on the side over here and check which factors actually work. But don't give up finding those factors. The next step, you guys are going to have your two binomials, two parentheses. My a value is 1, so I'm going to bring down the 1 with the k, 1 with the k right here, and you're going to bring down the factors. So notice we have a minus, a negative 4 here, so it's going to be negative 4, and the second one is going to be a positive 5 plus 5. I don't need that 1 next to the k. So my two factors will be k minus 4 times k plus 5. We factor that quadratic trinomial. Number 13 is a little bit different because the number in front of the variable with the square we have a 2. So this value is not 1. So we have to do an extra step. We have to make sure to check if we can divide the factors when we find the two factors of the trinomial. We have a plus 11a and a positive 12. So the X diagram, you do the same thing. You're going to multiply the a value times the c. So we do have a 2 here, and you're going to multiply by the c value. 2 times 12 is 24. Then your your middle term or b value, this one here, will be positive 11. So we need to find two factors that will multiply to positive 24, and they add up to 11. And I am thinking of 8 and 3. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 plus 3 is 11. So it works. But guys, on the next step, when you guys write your two binomials, we're going to have to use the a value, which is 2, and we're going to split up the a squared to an a times a. So we're going to have a 2a times a 2a. My factors, careful with the signs, we have a positive 8 and a positive 3. So plus 3 over here. Notice the first binomial, 2a plus 8, you can divide by 2. So that is what you have to do when the number in front of the variable square is not 1, we have to check if we can divide the binomials. The second one, 2a plus 3, you cannot divide. They don't have a common factor. But the first one, I'm going to divide the binomial by 2. So I'm going to get 2 divided by 2. I'm looking at the first term. That's 1. I don't need that 1 next to the a. So it's going to be 1a, plus a divided by 2 is 4. And the second parenthesis will stay the same because you cannot divide. They don't have a common factor. So my two factors are a plus 4 times 2a plus 3. And again, the order doesn't matter. You guys can have the parentheses switch. Just make sure you guys check the signs, the numbers, and everything is the same. Check that everything is equal, and then you guys will be okay. 14, it says factor again, and we have 3x squared minus 13x minus 30. Well, the a value, the number in front of the variable squared, is not 1. So we also have to check when we have the binomials if we can divide. And the middle term is negative, so we have to be careful with the signs. Also, the constant is negative. So always double check your signs. Be careful with the signs. So there's the X diagram right here. I'm going to multiply a, which is 3 times negative 30. That's going to be negative 90. And the middle term is b, which is negative 13x, or just negative 13. You don't use the x. Negative 13. So we need to find two numbers that multiply to negative 90 and add up to negative 13. Now here, like I said, guys, it's a little bit tricky, especially when this number is high. When you guys have a large number, you guys just don't give up and find those factors that will work for this X diagram. So let's try it. I know that one of the numbers has to be negative because we need to get a negative 90. So one of those factors has to be negative. And the biggest number has to be negative because the b term is negative. So I'm just going to start writing a list of numbers. I always start with the 1. I know sometimes it doesn't work, but 1 times negative 90, well, that's going to be negative 90, but it's not going to give me negative 13. 2 times negative 45, well, that's not going to give me negative 13. So you just you start making a list. The next one will be 3 times negative 30. That's not going to make it, it's not going to give me negative 13, so I'm not going to use those factors. 4, negative 4. Actually, 4 times negative, nope, 4 doesn't go into 90, so I'm not going to try 4. 5 times negative 18. Hold on, wait a minute. So 5 times negative 18 is negative 90. And 5 minus 18 will be negative 13. So notice that I just went down the list, I made some factors, and I just found the ones that work. If the first time doesn't work, don't give up. Try again and again and again and again. So the factors that work here are the positive 5 and the negative 18. So once you guys find those factors, you're going to write your two binomials. So I have my two parentheses like this. I'm going to bring the a value, so a is 3, and I'm going to split up the x squared. So 3x here, 3x over here. You guys have a positive 5 for your factor, and a negative 18. I was going to say 8, but it's not 8. It's 18, negative 18 on the second parentheses. Now go back. You have to check, since a is not 1, you have to check if you can divide. So 3x plus 5, you cannot divide. They don't have a common factor. But the second one, yes, you can divide 3x minus 18 by 3. So I'm going to divide by 3, divide by 3. So I'm going to keep the first parenthesis, 3x plus 5, and the second parenthesis, 3 divided by 3, that's going to be 1x, I don't need that 1, minus 18 divided by 3 will be 6. So my factors are 3x plus 5 times x minus 6. Now let me emphasize on something else that you guys need to understand. This is factoring. We're not solving, this is not solving the quadratic equation. We didn't found the value of x. We just factored the trinomials, and we found the two parentheses that if you multiply, you're going to get that trinomial back. Number 15. This one is different. It says find the product. Product means you have to multiply the two terms, or the two, in this case, binomials, so you guys can find the answer, the product. So I do have two binomials, 4x plus 3 times 3x plus 2. So I'm going to use the distributive property, and this is how you guys will distribute. You're going to start with the first term, the 4x, and you're going to multiply times the first term in the second parenthesis. So 4x times 3x, that's going to be 12x squared. When you multiply x times x, you're going to add the exponents, x squared. And then you multiply the next one, 4x times positive 2, that's going to be positive 8x. Then you guys are going to move on to the second term in the first parenthesis, positive 3 times the first term in the second parenthesis, positive 3 times 3x, that's positive 9x, and positive 3 times the next term in the second parenthesis, 3 times 2 is positive 6. We do have like terms. We have the positive 8x here and the positive 9x over here. So first, let me bring down the 12x squared because we don't have another x squared. So we just bring that one down. And 8x plus 9x, that's going to be 17, positive 17x. And the constants, we don't have another constant. 6 is the only one. So you just bring it down. So my answer will be this quadratic trinomial, 12x squared plus 17x plus 6. So what we did, guys, right now we multiply the two factors, the two binomials, and we found the trinomial. We found the answer when you multiply. Factoring is going the opposite direction. When you factor, they give you the trinomial, and then you try to find the two factors. But right now we found the product of the two binomials. Number 16, it says multiply. Same thing as find the product. You are multiplying. So we're going to do the same process. You will use the distributive property. So I'm going to multiply this variable r times the r on the second parenthesis. So it's going to be r squared. You multiply r times the next term, negative 4 times r, that's negative 4r. And then you guys get the second term, positive 4 times the r. That's a positive 4r. And the positive 4 times the negative 4, that's a negative 16. If you guys look at the middle terms, the negative 4r and the positive 4r cancels. So all we have left is the r squared minus 16, and it is your answer. For 17, you guys are looking for the missing side. Look at the diagram, the picture. You guys have a right triangle. We know it's a right triangle because this angle here has a square. So that means it is a 90-degree angle. So it is a right triangle. And we have to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side. Now, one of the things you guys have to know is which one is the hypotenuse and which sides are the legs of the trinomial. So the hypotenuse is the longest side of the the triangle, and the triangle, the hypotenuse is the side away from the 90-degree angle. So this side over here, the one opposite from the 90-degree angle, is your hypotenuse, which is C. So your C value is the longest side of the triangle. So the Pythagorean theorem, I'm going to write it down. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. All you have to do is you substitute the values that we know, and then you guys are going to solve for the missing side. The side that is shorter in that triangle is your A value. So I'm going to label this 3 as A, and the middle size length side is, or leg, is your B. So 4 is your B value. So I'm going to substitute. We're looking for C. Notice, we don't have the C value, the hypotenuse, so we want to find C. So I'm going to put C squared equals, and then you guys have the 3 squared, you substitute, plus the 4 squared, you guys substitute. You guys can use a calculator or you guys can do it by hand, but 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. This is not too bad, so I can do it by hand. And I am going to have C squared equals 9 plus 16 will be 25. And to get the C by itself, we need to cancel the square. So to cancel the square, we use the square root. And what do you do to one side? You do it to the other side. So you guys are going to cancel the squared and the square root right there. So you bring down the C, and the square root of 25, well, that is a perfect square number. Is the square root of 25 is 5. Now for geometry, since we're looking for the length or measurement of a side of a triangle, we want the positive root. So you always have a positive answer for the length. So C equals 5 will be the missing side. Number 18, again, you guys have a right triangle and we want to find the missing side. Now the missing side in this triangle is the A value. So first we need to identify the hypotenuse. So I'm looking at the right angle, 90-degree angle right here. So the side away from the 90-degree angle is your hypotenuse. So the 19 will be C, 6 is your B value, and we're looking for A. So again, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem because it is a right triangle. C squared equals A squared plus B squared, and I'm going to substitute the numbers I have. So I am going to have C squared, which is 19 squared, equals A squared. I don't know A, so I'm going to keep the A squared right there, plus B squared is a 6 squared. Now this one, guys, I know 19 squared is by hand, you can do it, but we can also use a calculator. So you square the 19. It is 361 equals A squared plus 6 squared is 36. Now again, guys, I did use a calculator to find 19 squared, and you guys will be able to use a calculator for the final. So now we need to solve for A. Notice that A has a constant on the same side, so we have to get rid of this because we want to isolate the A. So I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides, minus 36, and on the left side, 361 minus 36 is 325. On the other side, you guys have an A squared, and obviously you guys cancel the 36. Now you guys want to get A by itself, so we need to cancel the square. I'm going to take the square root of both sides, and I know that this square root and the square cancels, so I'm going to have the A by itself on the right side. So I use a calculator to find this square root because 325 is not a perfect square number, and with the calculator we got this decimal. Now if they ask you guys to round and they say hundreds place, 100 means 2 numbers after the decimal, this is how you round. So let me go back, okay? Let me just explain a little bit more. So using the calculator, we found the square root of 325, and it is this decimal. To round to hundreds, 2 decimal places, you guys have to look at 2 numbers after the decimal, but the number on the right side of the 2, this is the hundredths place, this number is more than 5. So you guys can round up. So the 2 will become a 3. So you guys are going to have 18.03. And since we did it round, it's an approximation. I'm going to use approximately, that's the symbol for approximately A. So the length of the A side, or the side of the triangle A, is approximately 18.03. 19. You guys are looking for the missing side again. You guys have a right triangle. There's a 90-degree angle. So the side opposite, away from the 90-degree angle, will be your hypotenuse. So 25 is your C value. We are looking for A, so that means 7 is your B value. So the hypotenuse, or not the hypotenuse, the Pythagorean theorem, C squared equals A squared plus B squared. You guys are going to substitute the values into the theorem. So C is 25. So we have 25 squared equals A squared plus B, which is 7 squared. Now again, you guys can use the calculator to square the 25, and I'll do that right now. It is 625, so 25 squared is 625, equals A squared, and 7 squared is 49. 7 times 7 is 49. To solve for A, you're going to subtract 49 from both sides, minus 49. So let's go ahead and subtract 625 minus 49. It is 576 equals A squared, and you guys cancel the 49s. Now to cancel the square, once again, we're going to use the square root. So you guys take the square root of both sides like this. And on the right side with the A, we know the square and the square root cancels. So you guys have the A right there. And let's go ahead and find this square root. And it is 24. So that's a perfect square number. 576, the square root of 576 is 24. So we don't have a decimal, we don't have to round. My answer for A is 24. Number 20. Now we're doing something different. It says solve. So we are looking for the value of the variable. And the variable is an m, not an x. So it's very common to have an x, but this one has an m. And we have a quadratic equation. You guys have a degree of 2. Quadratic equation. 2m squared minus 18 equals 0. Now, if you guys pay attention to the left side of the equation, this is a binomial. We are missing one term. We do not have the m to the first power. We do have a squared, but we don't have the b term, the one in the middle. So when you guys are missing that m, or that term in the middle with the variable with the x1 and a 1, we can use the square root property. The square root property is when you guys get the m squared by itself, and then you guys can use the square root to cancel the square. So I'm going to do that right now. I will take this minus 18 to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 18 to both sides. And we get 2m squared, cancel the 18, equals 0 plus 18 is positive 18. Then you guys divide by the 2 on the left side of the m. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. So you guys have an m squared equals 18 divided by 2 is 9. Here we want to cancel the square. So to cancel the square, we take the square root of that side and the other side. So the squared and the square root cancels. So we have m equals. Now for this question, guys, we don't have a triangle or a right triangle. So we're not looking for measurements. We are solving a quadratic equation. So in this case, we are going to use the positive and the negative root. So when you guys take the square root of 9, we need a positive and a negative. Plus or minus, and the square root of 9 is 3. So we need both answers for this quadratic equation. You guys can separate your answers. You can have n equals negative 3, comma, and positive 3, because we do have two different roots or two different answers. We have a negative 3 and a positive 3. That's why we have a plus and a minus. So this is using the square root property to solve a quadratic equation. Alright guys, so this video covers questions 11 through 20. I'm going to make another one, but you guys keep reviewing. Make sure you guys get ready, get prepared for the final, and I'll see you guys later.